Welcome back. All right. So a couple of kind of honorable mentions for tonight. Um, where there is some haunted activity, but for reasons that are going to become apparent pretty much as soon as I say it, I didn't want to cover these people tonight. I wasn't sure how. I mean, even though it's been a long time, some people are still very touchy about this particular subject. But some honorable mentions of tonight include the crew of the Challenger. Um, you know, I don't even know how to say it, to be honest with you. Also, there's some stuff connected to Neil Armstrong. Neil, the guy that first stepped foot on the moon. That guy, yeah. Who, by the way, was kind of a closeted expert ufologist. Just throwing that out there. Um, but there is some stuff going on with him having to do with some of his artifacts from the lunar mission that are now in museums. People have reported mainly sounds, and there has been some small visual stuff like light play and orbs and things of that nature, but yeah, I just thought, thought it should be mentioned at least. Anyways, getting a little choked up there. Let's get into this. A fragment of Amelia Earhart's lost aircraft has been identified to a high degree of certainty for the first time ever since her plane vanished over the Pacific Ocean on July 2nd, 1937, in a record attempt to fly around the world at the equator. New research strongly suggests that a piece of aluminum aircraft debris recovered in 1991 from Nikumaroro, I think I'm saying that right, an uninhabited atoll island in the southwestern Pacific Republic of Kiribati, does belong to Earhart's twin-engine Lockheed Electra. According to researchers at the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, which has long since been investigating the last fateful flight taken by Earhart 77 years ago, the aluminum sheet is a patch of metal installed on the Electric during the aviator's 8-day stay in Miami, which was the first stop on her attempt to circumnavigate the globe. Photos where Amelia Earhart plane fragment came from. The patch replaced a navigational window. A Miami Herald photo shows the Electra departing for San Juan, Puerto Rico on the morning of Tuesday, June 1st, 1937, with a shiny patch of metal where the window had been. The Miami patch was an expedient field repair. Rick Gillespie, executive director of Tigar, told Discovery News. Its complex fingerprints of dimensions, proportions, materials, and rivet patterns was as unique to Earhart's Electra as a fingerprint is to an individual. And yet still people doubt it. That's the part that drives me insane. He just said it. It's as individual to her plane, specifically hers, as a fingerprint is to an individual. No two people have the same fingerprint. Without some major surgical, stuff going on. Haters just piss me off when it comes to stuff like this, because it's like, look, on a personal level, I've always said that, haters are just a sign of success. But when it comes to like an entire field of study or research or historical acknowledgement, it just pisses me off. It just gets in the way. I mean, if it turns out that they're wrong and it didn't come from her plane, then fine. But don't just sit there and bash on this discovery just for the sake of bashing on it. That's bullshit. And like I said before, I kind of think of Amelia Earhart as like a hero, really. And it may not seem like a big deal in this day and age, and to generations of spoiled brats that have grown up without any fucking education these days. But Amelia Earhart is a big deal. First of all, she was a woman, like I said before in part 1, that was flying a plane in a time when women weren't really allowed out of the kitchen. That on itself is hero-worthy. Secondly, she was attempting something that had never been done before. In the world of aviation, what she was attempting was like on a scale with like Marco Polo and Christopher Columbus and every great explorer that came before her. And so when these idiots are sitting there, basically downgrading everything that she was about, or like a lot of our generation today, not even bothering to learn who she was, shame on them. That's disgraceful. It would be like me, a proud traditional native, not knowing about Geronimo or Sitting Bull or Red Cloud or Crazy Horse or any of those guys. I mean, not only was this woman like one of the best pilots in the world, she was literally like a huge symbol for women's liberation. Because even in the 1930s, women didn't have it all that great. A lot of women, I mean, they were technically allowed to work by the law, but, like within society, like their husbands wouldn't allow them to work or to get an education or anything like that. I mean, like, women were still held down, as disgraceful as that is. And she broke the fucking mold. So just even on, look, here's my point. Just even on the off chance that this actually came from her plane, all you close-minded pricks out there should shut the fuck up, just based on the fact that she deserves your fucking respect, if nothing else. And I hope you bastards are listening. I really do. Because if you don't get by now the fact that I don't like you just because you're closed-minded pricks, then I think I just spelled it out for you. And secondly, to all my regular listeners and all the believers out there, that nothing I just said was for you. I want that understood. I'm talking specifically to close-minded people. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. And Jeremy just said it in chat. He says, you have to remember, Jay, during the war, there were hundreds, maybe thousands of lost and ditched aircraft. If it's her plane and it's found, it is a huge deal. And she was a pioneer in aviation. Yes, she was. And yes, I understand that there were a lot of aircraft that crashed and were ditched all over that part of the Pacific. And I'm not at all trying to say that that's not something to keep in mind. But like this guy in this article, he was there. He was a part of the find. Said that this piece of aluminum that covered up this one window that had been broken is as individual to her specific plane as a fingerprint is to a person. That tells me that's her fucking plane. There is no what if. Until somebody comes up with a way to explain to me that this is why it is not her plane, it's her fucking plane. Or at least a piece of it. And like in the broader strokes of what I'm talking about, it's not even just about Amelia Earhart. It's not even just about, discoveries like this. It's overall. I'm so sick of closed-minded jerks. You know, talking down to those that believe, and doing their damnedest to explain away all this stuff because their minds are so small that they can't even handle the vastness of it. I'm just sick of that shit. If you don't fucking like it, just don't pay attention to it. Why do you gotta ruin it for everybody else? It's like those fucking haters on YouTube. Those bastards annoy the shit out of me too. No, they really do. They do. They just annoy me. Their existence annoys me. These are people that are supposed... This is what drives me crazy, folks. I have just such a big problem with closed-minded people. Especially closed-minded people in scientific fields. They piss me off to no fucking end. They drive me absolutely batshit insane. And here's why. One of my favorite sayings in the world, it is a little known saying, but it speaks volumes. And I love this saying. It's a little known saying by one of the premier minds of all time. Albert Einstein said this. He said, fear nothing but a closed mind. Fear nothing but a closed mind. Because a closed mind has no room for new ideas. Closed-minded people are the modern day fucking equivalent of those assholes in Spain in Spanish court going, no, the world is flat. These are the same assholes that absolutely deny that UFOs are real, even though they see evidence of it over and 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 over again. I'm not saying that necessarily they're alien, who knows? But the possibility is there. These are the same kinds of people that absolutely refuse to believe that there is other intelligent life out there somewhere. Which is a mathematical fucking impossibility. The universe is literally millions of galaxies with millions more habitable planets. And you're going to seriously sit there and tell me that none of them have intelligent life on it? Seriously? And out of all that intelligent life, you're going to tell me that there's none out there that are advanced enough to actually travel here and visit us? You're out of your fucking mind. They sit there and call us crazy for believing stuff. They're the fucking crazy ones because they refuse to believe it. These are the kind of assholes that would sit there and refuse to believe something that was right in front of their fucking face. And I think more than anything, the reason why Amelia Earhart, like the whole thing about her pisses me off so much is I can just imagine what it must have been like when her plane went missing back in the day. Some male chauvinist fucking asshole sitting in a chair somewhere smoking a stogie making jokes about how it figures a woman would have gotten lost or some bullshit like that. These are the same kind of assholes that thought it would be a fucking good idea to take an entire people and steal away their fucking identity after they had already stolen their land. And I'm not talking about, white people. I'm not racial like that. I'm talking about that mindset. Because that's not just in white people, by the way. That's in like every fucking race. So I don't want anybody claiming I'm racist or whatever. Because it's in every fucking race. We see that shit now in fucking Africa. We've seen it in India. We've seen it here. Even among my own people, there's been people like that. Don't get me wrong. They just don't get away with it like they do everywhere else because we live in a fucking tribe system. Or we did. But the point is a fucking closed mind is a dangerous fucking thing. Because when you have a closed mind, you're not open to the truth. No matter how up in your face it is. And as pissed off as I get by closed-minded bastards, I also kind of feel sorry for them because they'll never see the real beauty in the world because their eyes are closed and so is their mind. And it's as simple as that. But back to Amelia Earhart. So here's the funny thing about this island, this Nikumaroro. That particular island, okay, they don't even really consider it an island because it's so small, but that particular island, not just that island specifically, but that island, mainly that island, but also like the surrounding islands, have been known for like all sorts of paranormal activity. Most of their culture is wrapped up in spirits, really. If you go there, they have shaman too. By the way, it's just they're more of the Asian variety, and so there's that, and then you've got all sorts of cryptid stuff going on there. They actually have their own version of Bigfoot. It's kind of like the Yeren in Nepal, which is like a much smaller version of Bigfoot. It's kind of like that. They have all sorts of waterborne cryptid in their inland waterways and lakes and rivers and stuff. So it begs the question, what's going on here? And then you add all that, plus the fact their relationship to the Bermuda Triangle, you start to wonder. And there have been countless discoveries in that area. They found so many missing ships and planes in the Bermuda Triangle, and they haven't been able to get down there. The tidal and weather conditions are just far too dangerous. But they've taken scans and sonar readings, and they've sent remote controlled submersibles down there to take a look at stuff, and it's like a graveyard. One of the things that they found down there actually was a plane. Not Amelia Earhart's, but a bomber that went missing in that area during World War II. Just a few miles from where they found this piece of Amelia Earhart's plane. There was another plane, and it was I think it was a B-2, or not a B-2, a B-1. Whatever the Flying Fortress was, that's what it was. I don't know. I get those all confused. But I was in the Army, not the Air Force. It's probably why. But yeah, so this area like eats planes evidently because there were so many crashes there, and not all of them had to do with the war. There were at least three different planes that they've just recently found that had like a mysterious equipment failure for whatever reason and basically crashed. They weren't shot down, even with the war going on, and those stories probably would have been more famous had it not been for the fact that there was a war going on at the time. Here's an interesting, going back to Amelia Earhart for a second, and Charles Lindbergh for that matter. Uh, here's a little known something. I mean, you can research the history on this and get the exact quote, but I do know that this much is true. um, when Amelia Earhart was getting ready to start this whole journey that she was on when she disappeared, there were newspaper reporters snapping pictures of her, and actually one of the more famous pictures of her where she's in the cockpit giving the thumbs up with the big smile. That was actually taken right at this time, and I don't know why it just popped in my head, but she made some crack about how she wasn't going to let a guy what would she say? I'm not going to let some guy from the Midwest outdo me. And she was talking about Charles Lindbergh. How she wasn't basically going to let him, have all the glory and success and do all this cool stuff. Like she was going to try her best to outdo him. And it's kind of ironic, I think, that her flight began almost to the day 10 years after Lindbergh's. Just kind of a interesting little historical fact there. I mean, I don't know if that was like intentional or whatever, but interesting nonetheless. But there have been so many aviators that get something to do with like the paranormal, like like most of the astronauts at some point or another have had some form of paranormal thing happen. Most of them have been UFO related. A few of them have had like ghost encounters. Um, I think one astronaut. I don't think he was from. I don't think he was American. I think he might have been one of the Russians, but don't quote me on that. But like they were in their craft up in orbit, and I don't remember the exact phrasing of it, and I don't remember like all the details, but I do vaguely remember this astronaut or cosmonaut, whatever he was, um, describing what he saw through his observation window as he was looking down at a body of water. And basically, he was describing the Loch Ness Monster. And they were over that part of the world at the time, in Scotland. And so I've always kind of wondered about that. It was like a really clear day that day, and they were high up in orbit, but they were in orbit. So, and it is possible to see large bodies of water like that from orbit, especially when there's no cloud cover. So I wonder if he actually saw something or not. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I do know that a lot of weird stuff has been seen from space. Um, did you know that over 80% of all astronauts that are or have ever been a part of space programs have reported some kind of UFO counter? Think about that for a second. 80%, at least 80%, have had some kind of encounter with UFOs. Yes, that's true. Um, Jeremy in chat just pointed out something about Amelia Earhart's plane. I knew this, and I kind of forgot to bring this up earlier. So thank you, Jeremy, for pointing that out. Amelia Earhart was not only a great pilot, she was also kind of an engineer when it came to aircraft. She had her plane highly modified to carry fuel, virtually gutted the plane to carry as much fuel as possible. In fact, if if you have ever seen this particular plane, it looks like like what a typical passenger plane of the time would have been. Um, Except this one, like everything in the ass end was basically all fuel. I mean, one spark and it would have been nothing but a fireball in the air. But, you know, like the way it was made was in such a way that they didn't really have to worry about that. So, I mean, this woman was a fucking genius. I mean, it's as simple as that. And so, and my point is, right, like with the whole like closed-minded thing, is that, especially with someone like Amelia Earhart who deserves nothing but your respect. You should just shut the fuck up and at most, the most you should ever say about a discovery like this is, well, we need to make sure it came from her plane. You should never say, well, I don't think it came from her plane because I'm a skeptic and blah, 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 blah. Fuck you. And the closed-minded bitch of a horse that you rode in on. But yes, that is absolutely true. Her plane was incredibly modified. Actually, I'm going to try and find a picture of it real quick. There's actually a picture of her in front of her plane. I'm going to go ahead and post this in chat. But this plane typically, I think, was... Let me find out more about this, because this is the point I'm thinking. I think it carried like... I think it carried like can't remember. It was the CIT-9 safety plane. So let's look up that. Actually, let me bring this up. Wait, no, that's not the same one. That's her original... Okay, that's her original plane. That's what she used to fly. It's not the one I'm looking for. I really hate it when I can't find stuff. Lockheed Electra was the plane, so let's look that up. Alright, sorry about that, folks. I hate trying to find stuff. I believe it had, let's see, it had three rear windows, I believe, on each side. So I believe it would have had like 6 passengers. Let's see. There are a lot of variants. I'm trying to find how many. Here we go. Could have 10 passengers. Okay, but instead of having it for like 10 passengers, basically what they did is the entire passenger section was turned into like reserve fuel tanks. Basically, it was powered by two Pratt & Whitney R985 Wasp Junior SV 450 horsepower engines. So that's 900 horsepower distributed evenly on both sides, on each wing. Its maximum speed was about 202 miles per hour, which is, nothing by today's standards. I mean, most airplanes now go 200 miles per hour just taking off. It's definitely nothing compared to most military aircraft, which this was originally designed as military transport. In fact, this is the kind of plane that, if I'm not mistaken, like it was actually used in World War II at Normandy. Airborne troops jumped out of this plane. It wasn't the only type used during that particular assault, but they did use these then. There were some. So, oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't even brought up that part, Jeremy. Jeremy just said it in chat, folks. He goes, awesome picture. Can you imagine flying back in the day with no GPS and satellites? We can't even find modern day missing flights. Back then, they didn't have any of that stuff. They had like one of those little bulb style like